Yo, what's up guys? Today I'm going to be doing a full ultimate trait guide for Blair. This is going to include every single trait about every single ghost known in the game. It's going to be a long video, so everyone get ready and let's get right into these ghosts. Banshee is a ghost type that will choose a single player at the start of a match and only be capable of killing that player. When hunting, if the target is inside, this ghost type will ignore other players and focus on finding the target player. If the target player is not inside, the ghost will just chase after any player and proceed to kill them instead. This ghost can also be safely identified with a parabolic microphone by detecting what is called a Banshee screech. The parabolic microphone has a chance of reading the screech that increases the longer a player holds it, so it's pretty key that you consistently hold the parabolic microphone in your hand if you want to get this screech safely and consistently. Demon is a ghost type that lives up to the title of being the most aggressive ghost in the game. Ghosts in Blair have what we call personalities. These are set at the start of every match and can determine how active some ghosts are. Demons, however, will always have an aggressive personality, meaning they will interact more and trigger ghost events more often. A key ghost event that will often repeat when the ghost is a demon is the manifestation ghost event. This is when the ghost plays a loud, sharp sound, which can be different based on the ghost model, and will physically appear for a few short seconds. They can do this event on repeat and will even do this event before you enter the building, being a key way that most players identify them quickly. Demons are also faster hunters, having a slim but possible ability to hunt players at any sanity level. Fortunately for hunters, their wrath can be stopped much easier than other ghosts with a crucifix. Typically, a crucifix's range will only stretch to cover a small amount of space around it, meaning that you must have it in the ghost room. Demons, however, have a 40 stud extension for detecting the crucifix, meaning it will burn up from farther from where the ghost is currently located. In addition to this, there's a 1 in 100 chance that when a demon uses a crucifix, that a demon roar can be heard, followed by an intense red reaction from the crucifix. Very rare, but also very, very cool. A trait that I forgot to mention about demon in the previous version of this video is that every time the demon manifests or appears or does ghost events of that sort, it will actually gain a little bit of speed. Ghosts usually start at 8.5 speed. These are just numbers, but they determine how fast the ghost is. And every time a demon manifests, it will gain 0.5 speed to their base speed. So every time they hunt, they'll start with this higher speed. Meaning if you're around with a demon for a long time, you can have it start at like Harrow speeds, super fast. The Faejkur is a very deceptive ghost type, using the sounds around it to its every advantage. This ghost type listens to many different sounds around it and can reproduce these sounds to throw off ghost hunters. It'll pick up on many different sounds from your own equipment or actions, such as EMF readers, spirit boxes, or burning crucifixes, for example. There are many more. It will not reproduce noises like activating flashlights or lighters, footsteps, ghost ambiance, or event sounds. As an added interesting thing, it specifically cannot repeat. This ghost type, in whatever wacky way you'd even have it hear this, cannot reproduce the Banshee screech. This ghost will repeat the sounds they remember as fast as in 20-second intervals. I use the word remember because Faejkur, over time, will actually forget the sounds that it has heard. Another note about this ability is that it will fake its noise in random places throughout its current room, meaning in larger spaces, it might produce a sound far off from the player's current location and might require you to be actively moving around the room or having multiple people in the room. It's a bit tricky in bigger rooms. If you're not too keen on this trait, Faejkur has a much trickier trait that can be observed during hunts. Halfway through hunting, or at about the same point in time when a Lament would fake hunt, more details about this later in the video, this ghost type will split into two. Not literally in any sense, but this ghost will create a fake set of footsteps that can be heard. The way this works in more detail is the ghost will leave a point for the footsteps, and that point will only emit the sound when the ghost walks away from it, meaning you'll most likely hear the fake footsteps only if the ghost is nowhere nearby. This can be identified if you hear footsteps close by without the heavy heartbeat that typically follows. It's worth noting that at this point, footsteps will randomly move as well. On some small maps, you can actually just barely get into a position where you'll hear both sets of footsteps at the same time. Have fun revealing this Faejkur's tricks. Harrow is a ghost type that is sort of just like a dumb caveman. Kidding. Contrary to some popular belief though, Harrow is a pretty simple ghost type. Harrow's traits will pretty much only show up during its hunting phase. Many players think that the ghost gets more aggressive when you are in the ghost room, but this is simply just not a feature in the game. This misconception is likely drawn from the journal's description of the ghost, mentioning they will defend their territory, but this bit mostly just describes their hunting behaviors and also serves to note an important fact about Harrow, that they will never roam. Roaming is when a ghost hunts from a different room than its favorite room, which is the room where the temperatures get really cold and you'll get your evidence, but Harrows will never do this. They will always hunt from the exact same place. Harrows are super easy to identify during hunts though, and though it's a bit intimidating, Harrow can be identified by its intense speed. Harrow's speed is based on the distance to its favorite room, that room we were talking about where the temperatures are cold, you'll get your evidence there, and will be more rapid the closer it is to that room. On the other hand though, it'll be super slow the further it gets from the ghost room, so it's a pretty silly ghost if you get it in that position, but it's pretty hard too, so just identify it by the speed and you should be alright. Lament is, in my own opinion, one of the coolest ghosts to ever exist in a ghost hunting game. They're quite easy to spot out when you know what to look for, but sometimes they'll catch you way off guard. Laments hunt for the same duration as other ghosts, but will actually fake end their hunting phase close to the end of the hunt. When a Lament does this, all active lights will turn off and all equipment will be unaffected by the ghost's presence. The ghost will still actively be walking around in this phase, but will move much more silently. It's key to note this phase is a slight chance of not happening every hunt, but given the likelihood is much greater that it does, it's good to be ready for it. There are a few key ways to determine when this phase is happening. If you're up close with the ghost, you'll no longer hear a heartbeat in the ghost's presence. Even though the ghost is much quieter, you can still make out the sounds of the footsteps, so if a light flips off mid-hunt, and you're still able to hear subtle footsteps, you might have a Lament in this phase. If you've paid a little bit, night vision is extremely useful against this ghost type as well, allowing the player to see flashing continue through night vision during the fake phase after all the other electronics have reverted to their normal state. Playing it safe isn't too necessary though, because Lament is a ghost, unlike most others, that will not gradually speed up the longer it sees you, meaning you can infinitely outrun this ghost with stamina. Speaking of stamina, Lament is a super rare ability it can perform during a ghost event during the normal phase, usually not during hunts, where it will drain 100% of your stamina all at once. Super rare, but you can use this to your advantage because this is the only ghost that will do this. Mare is a ghost type that embraces darkness. Mare loves the dark so much that almost any form of nearby light will affect it in many ways. For starters, having light on in a Mare's current room will decrease the odds of it hunting in that room significantly. Mare will often turn off the lights in its current room, and has a 5% chance anytime it turns the light off to completely shatter it in a light-shattering ghost event. Mare is also easily discovered by its interactions with candles. When a ghost checks to blow out a candle, it will do so based on the range of that candle to its current position in a ghost room. All ghosts will blow out candles within 40 studs of their ghost room, while a Mare's reach with candles is more than double that, at 90 studs away from the ghost room. Mare's personality can vary, but it will more often than not be assigned the aggressive personality, so keep this in mind when you think you may have a demon, because they also have this personality very often. Finally, Mare has a secret ability that can be triggered when the breaker is on, where it will immediately turn a light off when it's in the ghost's room. Like when you flick a light switch on, it'll immediately just flick it right off. This happens occasionally, and from my experience, this likelihood's pretty much based on the personality you get. So it's not super reliable in terms of actual testing, but it's pretty fun. So give it a try if you think you have a Mare. Nooks are born from souls of extreme greed. This ghost type is well known for its love for physical belongings. This includes every sort of thing, from small furniture to your ghost hunting equipment. It loves interior objects so much that it has a slight chance to snatch items away for itself. This is quite a rare event to watch unfold, and many overestimate the bravery of this ghost type. It won't steal items rapid fire non-stop, though this ghost does have a higher chance than other ghosts to throw items. Nooks are better spotted through the way they traverse the location. And I don't mean during hunts when I say this, but rather when they roam. Nook is without a doubt the roamiest ghost in the game, under the right conditions. Counting this directly, Nook is also a ghost that, under the right conditions, will never roam. Nook works in a pretty interesting way. Nook spawns in a random ghost room like every other ghost, but the instant they spawn, they're quite unhappy. They immediately get to work on counting the number of items in their ghost room and the rooms in the local area. Nook will only be happy in a room when it knows it has the best room around, meaning it has the most items in its room. You can use this to your complete advantage. If you find the general area of a suspected Nook, you can drop a ton of equipment in one room, and without fail, Nook will eventually be there to unpack its bags. Once it's in this room, it will stay there pretty much indefinitely, unless of course it steals a bunch of items over a long period of time, in which case it'll eventually leave. If you want to make sure what you saw wasn't a random room, try moving all that junk you threw into the first room into another room nearby, and Nook will always know best from right to where you left your items. Poltergeist is an extremely active ghost that loves to perform interactions. Poltergeists are often guessed upon in comparison to demons and active mares, but they're quite different. Poltergeists generally do not have the aggressive personality, but rather are just extremely interactive. They will not perform as many ghost events as aggressive ghosts, but will show their love for activity through normal interactions, like doors, lights, and throwing items. Especially throwing items. Poltergeists have an increased chance among all other ghost types to throw around their local items, and even have the famous ability to blow up large quantities of items. Poltergeist can perform what is known as a Poltsplosion, where it will launch up to 10 items at once in various directions. During hunts, Poltergeists will further reveal themselves. Though aggressive ghosts do engage in many interactions mid-hunt, Poltergeist is more likely to do special interactions during a hunt, like turning on TVs or using phones. In addition to this, Poltergeist's visual blinking rate is slightly faster than the average ghosts, making it very easy for those who are willing to play a little more face-to-face with the ghosts to discover. Finally, Poltergeist has a secret ability that allows it to perform 2 interactions at the exact same time. This is a pretty rare occurrence, so it's not too reliable in average matches, but it's pretty cool and worth noting. Revenant is a pretty damn scary ghost type. Revenant is easily the easiest ghost to identify in the game, so long as you can actually survive it. Revenant, like a Harrow, far from its ghost room, moves extremely slowly during hunts. That is, until it locks its sight on a player, in which case, when a Revenant gains vision, or better known as line of sight, on any player, its speed will jump up to slightly over double that of a normal ghost and approach the player it saw. If Revenant sees you before you see it, it's pretty much game over immediately. That is, unless you have an incense burner, which I would consider the ultimate tool when playing this game. I often see players confuse Harrow and Revenant during hunts, so the incense burner can also be extremely helpful with this. After stunning a Revenant, it will instantly revert to that slower speed that it was moving when it didn't see anyone, because when you stun the ghost, it immediately loses all sights of all players and will wander until the stun wears off. So take this as a message to preserve your burners and use them wisely. Shade is one of the most boring ghost types in the game. If I had to provide accurate footage of this ghost, I'd stare at a wall for an eternity of the gameplay, and then move on. Shade will pretty much always be assigned the shy personality type, meaning the number of interactions and events it'll do will be slim to none. If you want it to interact even less, if you stand in the same room as Shade, its activity will be decreased by 80%. As far as sanity goes, Shade will not hunt until you are below or at 35% average sanity. An interesting note about Shade is that it's actually incapable of doing the manifestation ghost event on its own, which is where the ghost appears and all that. I've shown it a couple times in this video already. I specify it on its own because you can actually force a Shade to do this ability with the tarot cards, with the monstrosity card. Finally, Shade has a secret event where if you summon it with the summoning circle, it will not actually hunt, but appear in a shadowy form, stand there for a bit, and then disappear. No hunt. Very boring ghost type. Spirit is a ghost whose traits are pretty much centered around its hate for incense burners. This ghost is most obvious in its hunting phase. When a spirit is stunned, its speed will drop so low that the ghost will pretty much freeze in place, and the ghost will be stunned for a longer period of time. The incense burner works in an interesting way, where when you light it, it lasts a little while, and every second the ghost is near it while activated, a timer resets for the amount of time the effect lasts. All ghosts will stay stunned for 2 seconds from the final moment that the burner lasts on the ghost, meaning that when a ghost walks away from the burner, it can walk for 2 seconds before turning around and seeing you again. A spirit, however, will have this effect last for 6 seconds, and that after it walks away, it will stay stunned for much longer. A lesser utilized trait of this ghost is that when you cleanse the ghost room, the ghost will be unable to hunt for 3 minutes, instead of the normal 2 that every other ghost will have while cleansed. Another reason to always keep a burner close. Strigoi is a pretty weak and easily identified ghost type, so long as there isn't any water around. Strigoi thrives when in the presence of water. When nearby a source of water, this ghost will visibly appear completely invisible during hunts. On the contrary, if this ghost is present without any source of water to draw strength from, it will blink slower than any other ghost in the game. When in this state, this ghost will be visible for nearly 2 seconds between blinks, making this one of the easiest ghosts to identify via the blinking speeds. Turning the water off can be a dangerous task though. On occasion, when turning off Strigoi's water supply, this ghost will immediately hunt, and this can happen regardless of your sanity, so don't think you're safe on easy difficulties if you're trying to turn off the water and you think it might be a Strigoi. Finally, this ghost has a unique fingerprint when interacting with objects with evidence enabled. This fingerprint will have an even number of fingers and will look irregular. Wraith is an incredibly roamy ghost type, most often being given the roamy ghost personality. Most ghosts will keep their roaming to rooms close by their current room, but roamy ghosts can make greater leaps from place to place, sometimes traveling over multiple rooms. Wraiths are easily the most roamy ghosts in the game, not very often staying in the same room for long, making them tricky to track down. They're even more difficult to track down because they will never actually step in any salt. This can be used to your advantage though, since if you do confirm a ghost in a room, whether that be through ghost events or anything else, I have a separate video I'm actually going to link in the description that will help with ghost rooms and all that, but you can easily confirm if it's a wraith if it hunts from a location where salt is untouched. Speaking of ghost events, when a wraith performs a manifestation ghost event, which we've shown a couple times in this video, it will actually take on a different pose than the one that normal ghosts will. Due to their lore for being hovering ghosts, also being why they don't step in any salt, wraiths will actually float during their manifestations. And a funny bug exists where a wraith can assume this pose for the entirety of a hunt following a manifestation, so definitely keep an eye out for that. Finally, wraith has a secret ability of its own. This can only be truly spotted with an EMF reader, but wraiths have a chance to teleport to any player on the map. When this happens, the EMF reader will show a reading of 2 directly where you were standing when you performed this. Pretty interesting stuff. Yama is probably the most controversial ghost in the game. Fortunately for all of you, this ghost is pretty well traded these days and is actually pretty manageable and no evidence. Yama is supposedly quite a roamy ghost type, and although I personally wouldn't say they roam anywhere near as often as Wraith does, When Yama roams, it has an incredibly unique ability. When a Yama switches to a room, unlike any other ghost, it is capable of turning that room into its favorite room. The ghost room guide and description that I mentioned during Wraith's part goes further in depth on the differences between favorite rooms and ghost rooms, but favorite rooms are pretty much where you'll see low temperatures, orbs, and any other stuff like that, so it's pretty significant that Yama can do this. You'll have interesting instances where ghost rooms suddenly warm up, or possible scenarios where multiple rooms are freezing cold, so it's pretty cool. You can stop a Yama from roaming completely for 2 minutes if you either stun or cleanse the ghost in any form. This is pretty important to keep in mind when you notice a roaming ghost to stop moving. Yama was recently given the Spirit Box evidence, so it has its own unique ability via that. When using a Spirit Box, there's a chance that you'll hear a distinct growl instead of the normal sound effects, which is completely unique to Yama. Finally, during hunts, Yama can actually be determined through its blinking in a similar way that Poltergeist can. In my opinion, this blink is much more obvious than Poltergeist, but Yama will consistently blink at a much slower rate than your average ghost, leaving larger gaps in between appearances that normal ghosts usually won't leave. Yurei is what was once a blind menace, though nowadays it's pretty simple and easy to determine. Yurei is unique in the sense that it is completely blind during hunts and heavily relies on your movement to detect you. If you stand completely still when a Yurei begins to hunt, you can actually watch it completely walk away from you in a style similar to the way that Banshee will if you aren't its target. Yurei will automatically detect nearby if it happens to walk in your direction though, so I do recommend performing this test somewhere the ghost won't commonly walk, like a hallway, or don't be in a hallway or something like that, you know. Though testing this is a pretty fun way to discover Yurei, you don't actually have to do that, because Yurei, like Lament, won't actually speed up on line of sight when it sees you, meaning you can loop it pretty easily and it will never catch up to you. Of course, it may get tricky with Lament, but remember Yurei does not have Lament's ability, so it will not turn off the lights midway through and stop making noises, and it will just loudly follow you for the entirety of the hunt. Honestly, it's probably easier to die to a shade than it is to a Yurei, so stay safe, guys. Don't let this guy catch you. And that is every ghost that is currently in the game. If any new ghosts ever come out, I will do my best to update this as best I can, including new traits or anything else for the other ghosts as well. But thank you all so much for watching. This video took a long time. I hope you all learned something from this. If there are any very small changes, I might not update the video, but rather leave a comment, so check the comments for a pinned comment in that case. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. It was a fun video to make, and have a great day. See ya.